Well, I think, Sam, we all elevate the debate here in Australia, here on programs like this, and I hope that's what we do. But Matt Canavan, and I kind of wish we were all here to have a big kind of bipartisan group hug. But Matt, let me ask you your thoughts on the Prime Minister's remarks. I thought that they were very good and articulate and reasonable remarks. But is there also a danger that in all of this talk of lowering the temperature, that could be used, I guess, by some in the media or others to start to, police the bounds of what it's acceptable to talk about? Where do we draw that fine line, Matt Canavan?
Well, there is a line, and look, yes, you're right. I thought the Prime Minister's words were entirely appropriate and well made. I don't think it's that much of a fine line. I certainly don't have any complaints with you, Sam, and I support a robust political debate. We should be willing to go into a battle of ideas. The focus should always be on the ideas, not the person, I suppose, summed up in the old saying that you should play the ball, not the man. And I think, fortunately, in Australian politics, we don't see too much of that. Sometimes, of course, it can go a little bit hard, but it's pretty clean. Whereas you see what's been going on in the US, and I've been warning about this for years, the increasing weaponisation of their judicial system to go after individuals, the ridiculous comparisons of people to fascist dictators. All of this sort of language has led to this environment in the United States, which, look, thankfully, I don't think is reflected here largely in our political dialogue. We are seeing pockets of it, though, with the likes of the pro-Hamas protesters. It's disgraceful, and I don't blame the Prime Minister for that. It's a very difficult issue to deal with. But, we've got to make sure we do not go down this US path of weaponisation of judicial systems, the politics of personal destruction. It's very corrosive to the society, to the politic, and let's hope we carve our own Australian way here while being robust, but also being able to have a beer after the TV cameras turn off, and we can all have a laugh afterwards.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But I mean, Sam, and I know we're talking a lot about American politics, but this has such huge implications, I think, for absolutely everything that's going to happen in America. What happens in America always winds up washing up one way or the other here on our shores. I was talking to my previous guest about this. The Democrats have now pulled their ads. They don't want to be seen as to be sort of in bad taste capitalizing on all of the sort of the events of the last 24 hours. But at the same time, you do have to wonder if the Democrats who've campaigned, I'd love to ask your opinion on this, Sam, what you think, where do they go in terms of their messaging when so much of their headline messaging has just been vote Democrat, Trump is Hitler? How do they come up, with a more positive message than that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I think this is one of the many reasons that the Democrats are in a little bit of a crouch right now. They don't quite know where to go. I think Trump's messaging about his speech coming up is interesting, talking about he's going to bring the country together. I think the real opportunity here is here now for him, not just to capture his base and energise his base. That's done. They're going to be at the polls in their droves. I think there is a chance here for him to capture independents, which up until yesterday, I didn't think was possible. The independents would either stay away or vote Democrat. After, I think, the sympathy and the outpouring of sympathy for President Trump, I think the independents are genuinely up for grabs. So you're absolutely right. I don't have an answer for the Democrats about what they do with their message. The economy is roaring along in America.
For
but
some
I think
people,
because it's running on these. Well, exactly. That was going to be my point. Because it's such a polarized two-speed economy. If you're part of the very lucky groups who have white-collar, tech-based jobs, your stock portfolio is zooming ahead. If you're part of the great unwashed, the rest of us, the 80% of the country, you're not experiencing those gains of the S&P 500 and every other measure that economically in the past has been such terrific predictors of US returning presidents.
And I mean, look, that's the same situation here. You know, if you've got shares, you've got investment properties, you're laughing. But if you're just, you know, a wage earner, you're moving backwards. And we've seen that under the Albanese government. But Matt, what do you think, though, Matt Canavan? Because once you start to dig underneath that message, Trump is evil, you know, he's the next Hitler and so on, how much of that is a distraction for the fact that actually their real policies are really, really unpopular because they're about, you know, the green energy stuff that makes everybody's power more expensive. They've got to buy an EV and they can't do the things that they want to do. It's about, you know, open borders, especially on the southern border, which means, you know, a lot of chaos, dysfunction in the cities. Crime comes along with it. And, of course, depressing wages. So how much of what we've seen over the last few years out of the Democrats is really just a way to kind of, you know, as Paul always says, it's a magician's distraction trick. You know, don't look over here at what we're doing. Look over here at how evil Trump is.
Look, I think you're right. I think the Democrats will have to jettison that over-the-top rhetoric now in light of these tragic events. In some senses, it may be a blessing for them because I don't think that sort of microwaved scare campaign from the Russia hoax days is doing that much. It's not very effective. So maybe it's an opportunity for them, but I agree with you. It's probably where do they go? They seem a bit shell-shocked right now. But look, I also think the other thing that you haven't said here, and probably the thing that might trump, if you like, excuse the pun, for any other response from the Democrats is the response of Donald Trump himself. I mean, the Prime Minister was right that it was an attack on democracy, but it was an attack ultimately repelled by the defiance, the resilience and bravery of Donald Trump. I mean, everybody saw that, and pretty much everybody, except your most dyed-in-the-wool activist Democrat, is very impressed with how a man who had just been shot immediately gets up and shows that level of defiance. And that's leadership. It's just right there on your TV screen. And he's running for the leader of the free world. And he's just put in one of the best job interviews you ever could for that. He's shown real leadership.